Hi, this is Matt with Plating Pixels, home of cost-conscious comfort food, where I teach you how to make restaurant-quality meals at home. And in this video, we're making simple braised lamb shanks. Anyone can make this recipe at home. It's really simple. It's just a few key ingredients like lamb shanks, some beef broth, red wine, spices, and some carrots. We'll cook everything together and then you can serve it with a simple side like mashed potatoes. And this recipe is great if you want a simple homemade meal that is elevated in restaurant quality. And it also works great for holiday dinners such as Easter or Christmas. Here's a sneak peek of what we'll be making and what your final presentation can look like. So be sure to check out the description below to get the printable recipe card so you can easily follow along. And let's get started. The secret to the best lamb shanks is to first give it a good sear in a pot. I'm using an oven-safe aluminum pot that will later transfer to the oven with the broth and cook everything together. You can also use a Dutch oven or give everything a good sear in a pot first and then transfer it to a baking dish and cover it with foil. So the first step is to start with the seasoning of the lamb shanks. For this recipe, I'm using 2 large lamb shanks, which are a little bit over 3 pounds total. For seasoning, I'm just using a simple mixture of salt, pepper, and garlic powder. That's enough to enhance and bring out the flavors of the lamb, but not really overpower it. And you can also chop up some fresh rosemary and add that as well. But we're also gonna add that into the liquid, which is gonna help steam and create aromatics while cooking. And be sure to give it a pretty generous coating, evenly and on all sides of the lamb shank. I have my oven-safe pot preheating over medium-high. Let's go ahead and add some cooking oil, about 2 to 3 tablespoons, enough to coat the bottom. And you want to let this heat up for maybe 2 to 3 minutes to get hot enough to when you add the lamb shank, it'll start sizzling. The key is to do a high, fast heat to create a nice brown. All we're really trying to do is crisp up the outside, and by browning it, we're gonna create a little bit of fond or leftover meat bits. That's gonna help us with our liquid. We're gonna deglaze it and create our nice liquid braising sauce for this. The oil is heated and ready, so go ahead and place both lamb shanks in your pot. That's the exact sound you wanna hear the instant you add them. And you want to cook these maybe 4 to 5 minutes per side, enough to create a really nice brown, crisp crust. That's key to get the ideal flavor and texture and beautiful presentation that you want for these lamb shanks. These are looking amazing. Ideally, you want to brown as much of the outside as possible. This even includes the ends. And again, we're only trying to brown the outside. We're not trying to actually cook the meat. We're gonna finish that off in the oven. So this looks like it's almost done. I'm gonna go ahead and remove it from the pot and turn the heat down to about medium. The lamb shanks are nicely browned. I've set them to the side. We can work on the next step. In the pan, there's probably some leftover oil. You're gonna have some browned bits. That's gonna create a lovely liquid base that we're gonna use to continue braising our lamb shanks. And then we can also reduce that down at the end to make a really simple glaze or liquid to pour over it. So again, make sure the heat is reduced a little bit to about medium. Next, we'll add some dry red wine. I'm using a bottle that's maybe about $10. And we're using about 1 to 2 cups. And the good news is with the leftovers, you can pair it with the lamb shanks. So next, we'll add about the 1 to 2 cups of red wine directly to the pan. That's the exact reaction you want. That instant burst of steam is gonna release all the stuck-on flavor bits that are in the pan, and it's gonna infuse into our liquid base. So now go ahead and just scrape off the bottom and try to get as much of it loosened as you can. And we want to simmer that on about medium to medium-low. Just a really light simmer to help reduce it to maybe about half of its original liquid. The next step is to add beef broth. You want to add about 32 ounces or up to 4 cups. And depending on the size of your pot, this will be anywhere from about maybe quarter to half full. We want enough to mostly submerge the lamb shanks during cooking. That's going to help break down the proteins and tenderize the meat and create that fall off the bone texture. And let's add our vegetables in. I'm using about 1 whole onion, largely sliced, about 2 to 3 cloves of chopped garlic, and about 1 cup of prepared baby carrots. And then you can add maybe 2 to 3 sprigs of fresh rosemary. And at this point, we just want to let it heat up a little bit. You can also preheat your oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you're not using an oven-safe pot or Dutch oven, add your liquid, add the lamb shanks, and be sure to cover it with foil. You want to tightly seal it to make sure all the steam and all the heat is held in. But again, if you're using an oven-safe pot, this part's simple. Just go ahead and add your lamb shanks right back in. And right now these are about half submerged. That's fine. It's still going to steam inside and create even heat, and it's going to cook through. And plus that way the top is going to stay a little bit more nice and crisp, and it's going to help your presentation. Then we'll add our oven safe lid and go ahead and transfer this directly into the oven. And while they're cooking, let's talk about how long to cook them. So for about 3 pounds of lamb shanks, I'm going to cook these for at least 2.5 hours, probably 3 hours. Unlike lean meats like chicken breast or fish, with lamb shank we want to cook it longer to help break down the proteins and create that fall off the bone texture. Depending on what you're serving this with, maybe about an hour before they're done, you can prepare your side dish such as mashed potatoes. I've shared a video for cauliflower mashed potatoes that are keto and low carb. I'll link to those in the description below. So at this point, we just gotta wait and let the magic happen. See you soon. And the moment, at least I've been waiting for, is the braised lamb shanks are ready. I've removed them from the oven. Let's go ahead and take a look. Remember, just be sure to use a hot pad. Lid's likely very hot. And these are perfectly done. They've cooked down a little bit, and because we didn't completely submerge them in the liquid, the top is still nice and brown, and it's got an amazing texture that's gonna look great once you put this on the plate. So next we'll want to remove these from the pot. These are likely fall off the bone texture, so I recommend using tongs and then putting maybe a spatula underneath to hold it together, just so they don't break and fall apart. And these look absolutely amazing. This is just as good as you get at any steakhouse. And the leftover liquid from the braising might be a little bit thin, so what we can do is simmer on about medium heat to evaporate off and thicken. So that might take about 5 to 10 minutes for simmering. And one more pro restaurant quality tip to make this the best finish possible is we'll go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of butter and melt that in. It's gonna create a nice, rich, silky, and velvety texture. And while that's simmering, go ahead and watch. I'll show you how I like to present my braised lamb shanks. I recommend putting it on a bed of mashed potatoes and maybe adding the carrots to the side and then drizzling the glaze on the top. Look at this beautiful dish we just made. We got perfectly braised lamb shank. It's got a nice brown, nice crisp coating. I've been waiting about 3 hours to try this. I'm so excited. I'm gonna give this a taste. And this should just cut super easily with a fork and knife, probably gonna fall off the bone. I'm just using a butter knife and it's cutting through literally like butter. So we'll give this a little bit of mashed potatoes, give it a complete bite. Wow, oven braising is hands down my favorite way of making lamb shank. It's loaded with flavor, it's moist, it's fall off the bone tender, and it just looks so beautiful on the plate, yet this was so simple to make at home. And don't forget to check out the description below to get the printable recipe card. And if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to Plating Pixels to get all of my future recipe videos.